All right, and welcome into the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast. As Ricky Bobby said, if you ain't first, you're last. That's right, we're talking about 12 insane league winners to target in your 2025 fantasy football drafts. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, fresh off my league home draft position lottery this past weekend in the 4-hole this season. So hopefully I'll be circling some of these players we discussed today. And I'm joined by quite the cast of characters in this episode, including the King of Bros, Derek Brown, aka D-Bro. Derek, great to be back with you today. How's your summer been so far since the NFL draft show concluded, my friend?
Dude, it's been a lot of writing, a lot of dadding with the kids at home, and 3 kids at home during the midst of content season.
Woo.
is once it's fun, I'll just say it's interesting. And then, you know, just trying to avoid the sun. Joe gave me crap about it the last show that I did. It is true. I got a freaking sunburn in the shade, guys. So it's been a tough summer so far.
I can see it on your face a little bit. And you need that SPF 50. I think at least 50.
It didn't work. It didn't work. 200. I don't know. I'm going to have to get in the triple digits now.
Also joining us is my co-host from the Betting Pros College Football Show and the co-host of the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Podcast, a man who's so busy, so important that he left me on red for a good 10 days recently. He's Scott Bogman. Good to see you, buddy. How are the summertime vibes treating you down in Texas?
Man, I'm old Manning these days. That's really what it is. I got to update on my phone. Stuff doesn't show up where it normally shows up anymore. Excuse.
So I should call you Arch from now on?
Not What's that?
But old Manning.
Yeah, I see my hearing is so bad. Yeah, I just Arch Manning. Archie Manning.
Yeah. It was bad. Bad pun.
Arch Manning. Come on. Yeah, that's what we're about here.
Archie.
But you know how my summer's been, Seth. It's been Aaron Rodgers centric. So not so happy about that. We haven't even talked about it yet, but I don't think he was number 1 on your call sheet either. So, you know, it's just the way it is, but we're ready to talk about some insane upside guys here. I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, I don't think any Aaron Rodgers on the program today. I don't think any Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think they really fit into that category much. But today's show does look like this. We'll break down the guys' favorite league winners from rounds 2 to 3, the mid rounds, and some late round dart throws as well. And before we jump in, I first wanted to shout out everyone who's watching on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel or listening on the podcast feed. Thank you so much for allowing us to do this for a living. We appreciate it. As always, the easiest free way to support us is give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure you're subscribing if you're new. Word on the street is that the company might be buying Boggs a new phone when we get to 300,000 subscribers so we can finally text people back. So help Boggs, help me, help us all, D-Bro. 300K, we're putting it out there for the people.
Those old T-Mobiles, he's like, bing, 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 A, bing, 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 F, bing, 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 J.
No, man, I'm so old. I'm using bat signals over here and smoke signals. That's
carrier pigeons? Yeah, that still works.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into our favorite league-winning big guns that reside in the rounds 2 and 3 of fantasy drafts, starting with D-Bro, who's all the way back in on last year's wide receiver 5 overall. Who you got, D-Bro?
Dude, it's Drake London. It's been Drake London. It's still Drake London. I've put it out there on the social media, man. He is got dark horse wide receiver 1 overall upside. Ooh. And a lot of these wide receivers, if you're taking them in the 2nd and 3rd round, you want them to have this type of upside where they can be that league-winning player for you that massively outproduces his ADP. And I understand, like, he's going to wide receiver 10. I get it. You're going to have to pay up for a little bit for it. Mm-hmm. But there's still meat left on the bone, whereas there's a lot of guys where you're drafting in these ranges where it's just like, please just don't lose value. Please continue to be a top 15, a top 20 wide receiver like you've been in previous years. But for Drake London, I think it all comes down to not only has he got the volume and the pathway, look at this passing offense. I mean, okay, Darnell Mooney's there. Nothing else. Ray McCloud, we're worried about stealing targets? Nope. We're worried about Kyle Pitts. The dude can't even play a full-time role in his own offense. So no, I'm not worried about Kyle Pitts. So Drake London has the pathway to absolutely crush, where we saw him produce and have the monster breakout season that I've always thought he had in him. All we needed was better quarterback play. With Michael Penix this year, he could unlock a totally different level to Drake London. And I know this is a small sample and people are going to crush me for that. But with Michael Penix under center last year, 3 games, Darnell Mooney played 2 of those games. He had a 39% target share. He averaged 117 receiving yards per game, and his yards per route run jumped to 3.74.
You said Darnell Mooney, but you meant Drake London.
No, Darnell Mooney played 2 of the 3 games that Michael Penix started, is what I was saying.
Oh, because I'm looking at Drake London's numbers with Penix starting, and they're eerily similar. You say 7.3 receptions per game, 117.3 yards per game in those games that Penix started with Drake London. That's crazy. And a touchdown.
Dude, Drake London's going to crush this year. I think he has wide receiver 1 overall upside. Erickson's talked about this on other shows. We always point to the red zone role. We know he's going to get red zone targets. The thing is, if the ADOT goes up, because we think it's going to, because Penix is actually going to stretch the field versus Kirk Cousins,
right?
Then Drake London has the ceiling to just absolutely eviscerate his current ADP and ECR.
Yeah, 18 overall, ECR currently wide receiver 10. Number 3 in targets last year, which I think a lot of people overlook, 9.2 per game. That's elite volume. Number 4 in receiving yards as well. Also proved he's probably one of the league's best route runners. I know there's a lot of conversation when he was coming in. How good of a route runner is this guy? And I think he proved that he is one of the best. Number 7 in total routes won. So it feels like a great value in the second round of drafts. Boggs, the only question I think is for those who are going to be either in or out with London at current ADP is that the quarterback position is slightly unknown. Michael Penix Jr. looked good in his 3 starts, but it was just 3 starts towards the end of the season as well. That's really the holdup for me, and I think a lot of fantasy managers with loving London like a league winner like our friend Debro does.
Yeah, I mean, I like London as well. You said his ECR is 18. I have him at 19, so I'm right in striking distance of wanting to draft Drake London. And, look, you don't have to ask me if I'm a believer in Penix. I have 2 reasons. Number 1, Fitz won't shut up about him. Fitz loves Michael Penix. That's one of his favorite buys this year. It is a small sample size, but, it kind of showed the upside of what this offense can be with Michael Penix. Drake London in particular, like Debro just pointed out, 7.3 receptions per game, 117 yards per game, 0.7 on the touchdown. So more likely to score a touchdown than not every game that he started with Michael Penix. So you saw the upside. I saw Michael Penix tear up my Longhorns in the college football playoff a couple of years ago. So I know that when he gets rolling and going downhill, there's no stopping him. There is not a guarantee that is going to happen week in, week out, right? But he could be really good. So we could be sitting on a gold mine with this Falcons offense, and Drake London is going to be, the second best piece of it behind Bijan Robinson. And that is a very good place to be if Michael Penix gets it rolling downhill like he showed at the end of last year.
Yeah, I don't like the secondaries in this division either. Like Tampa Bay, they addressed it a little bit in the second round of the draft, adding Benjamin Morrison. But aside from that, not afraid of their secondary, not afraid of Carolina's secondary either. So I think potentially some upside there for Drake London. Boggs, let's go to you and move forward, but stay still in rounds 2 and 3, this time featuring one of your favorite running back targets that might have league-winning upside.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the last, fighter for Jonathan Taylor here.
You are.
And I know, I understand. And look, we're picking, the name of this show is Insane Picks, right? I don't even think this is insane. This guy is getting pushed down to the second round. There's a lot of good running backs now, specifically with this class coming in, so I understand it. He's also had injury issues, so there's 2 big ifs, right? The big ifs are if JT can stay healthy, because we know last year the talent is still there. In terms of points per game, he was 5th. So the upside is still incredible for Jonathan Taylor. And do they get any sort of good quarterback play? Because he was a top 5 point per game producer with horrific quarterback play last year. I mean, bottom of the barrel, god awful QB play last year. So there's not a guarantee that is going to improve this year, right? Maybe Anthony Richardson doesn't take a step. Maybe they have to go to Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones is kind of what we know he is at this point. I love to see him out of New York and get to maybe somewhat of a, competent offense here. But this offense, look at it. I mean, look at how potent this could be if they fit it. I still believe in Pittman. I know he had a bad year last year, but no one was throwing the ball. Josh Downs is so good in contested situations. They added Tyler Warren over there.
True.
Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce had an awesome year with all that bad quarterback play last year. So I just think he's already a guy that is producing at a top 5 level in a per game basis, right? If you get competent quarterback play and he can stay on the field, and I know people look at DJ Giddens going there and saying, well, they have a good backup now. Maybe he's not going to get used as much. Good. Take 3 or 4 touches away from him every game and keep him a little bit healthier throughout the season. I think that's great for him. So I just see, I see the path to JT being back on top of the running back mountain at the end of the year if this offense can get rolling. Is it the most likely situation? Probably not, but that's why we're calling this insane league winners, right? So I still think JT has the talent to be at the tip of the spear among running backs, just has to stay on the field.
I've been pretty all in on JT the past 2 seasons. We got him like at a round 8 discount back in 2023 when he had that holdout situation going on that led to the injury. And then also last year, I took him right around that 1-2 turn in a lot of drafts. He didn't really leave me hanging. Like, he still scored at least double-digit PPR points in all but 3 games. And he was a league winner down the stretch late in the season. I still felt somewhat disappointed, though, because he did have career lows in the receiving outputs. I worry we could see something similar this year. AR doesn't seem to throw a lot to the running backs, nor does Daniel Jones. And the Colts feel like, to me, D-Bro, that maybe this whole thing is blown up by midseason. So I'm out on JT. Where do you land?
I've got him still as an RB1 in my current ranks, but he's not a guy that I'm like gravitating to and prioritizing in drafts and stuff like that. And for much the same reasons you mentioned, Seth, like I know the volume is going to be there. I have questions about the offense. I don't think the pass game upside is going to be there. So I think Jonathan Taylor, you're kind of hoping for like a Nick Chubb type of run out where
like
the early down volume. Yeah. Where the early down volume gets there. The touchdowns are there. The bigger thing that I think kind of concerns me most about Jonathan Taylor is the explosive run rate was still awesome last year. His tackle breaking metrics, and I will give a caveat here. Obviously, we know he was not 100% healthy last year.
Sure.
And so can that bring these numbers down? But when you see some of these guys with the volumes built up, he's not 21, 22, 23 years old anymore. And last year, 11% missed tackle rate, 2.03 yards after contact per attempt. Those numbers are kind of frightening when he needs to make, like, how he's going to cash his paychecks in fantasy for people is on the early downs. Because again, none of us are talking about he's going to have this massive pass game upside, catch 40, 50 balls this year. It's not going to happen with anybody under center there, because instead of doing that, they're going to take off running. So if the pass game utility is not there to kind of save him and he needs to absolutely crush on the early downs, outside of volume, I even have some questions about his effectiveness there, because we didn't see it last year, but he still was RB7 to Bogman's point, and then all goes back to the volume. So volume probably carries him and wins the day. Not a guy that I'm going to reach for or prioritize in drafts. If he falls in a draft, maybe I'll get him.
He had to have faced more sack boxes. I didn't look into it, but he had to have faced more sack boxes last year than any other year, because they couldn't get, Anthony Richardson was so miserable passing the ball. 8, 9-man fronts. So if they can just get a little bit of help of pushing back the linebackers a step, getting one of those guys out of the box and on the perimeter a little bit more, that will go a long way for JT breaking some of those tackles. It'll be against 1 or 2 guys instead of 3 or 4 this year, hopefully. So, and finishing as a top 5 in points per game last year, it's still the talent is still in there. It's not gonna last forever. This is right where running backs hit their peak. This is 26 for him. So, this is probably the last huge one, unless you start turning into a freak like Derrick Henry, like Saquon Barkley, and with his injury history, I don't know if that's going to be the case. So.
Yeah, definitely a toss-up there, but Bogman, he's liking the upside of JT in the early rounds, and D-Bro all in on Drake London. Before we get to the mid-round league winners, if you want a chance to win a signed Pittsburgh Steelers George Pickens jersey for free, courtesy of our friends over at pristineauction.com, all you have to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Drop a comment below on any Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast video, and that's it. We will be announcing a winner right here on the program, so make sure you ring the bell so you can know when new videos are up and to claim your prize. How about that, Boggs? A little George Pickens collector edition there for the friends.
We can cry into it. I was not happy about the Pickens trade. I think you and I did discuss that one.
Yes, so. yeah, absolutely. Playing for next year, baby. Playing for next year. That's my hope there. Moving into the mid-round breakouts. D-Bro, who is your first league winner from rounds 4 through 8?
Are we all pretending that 2024 didn't happen? Did everybody just wake up today and submit rankings and decide in drafts that we're all going to pretend that Kenneth Walker wasn't an RB1 last year? Because that's what everybody's basically doing. He's the RB16 in ECR. All throughout the best ball streets, he's an RB2. What doesn't matter where you're drafting at. And I think it's absolutely ludicrous. He was the RB12 in fantasy points per game last year, people. He was already an RB1. So why are we doing this? Oh, you're worried about Zach Charbonnet. When Kenneth Walker's healthy, Charbonnet has not been a factor, a heavy factor. This has not been a split backfield. Oh, you don't think he can catch passes? Okay, well, all of those bad narratives when he was a prospect got crushed last year. Kenneth Walker amongst 45 qualifying running backs last season. 3rd in first downs per route run, 6th in targets per route run, 6th in receiving yards per game. He's also one of the best early down rushers in the entire freaking NFL, because Kenneth Walker last year also led the NFL in missed tackle rate and was top 10 in yards after contact per attempt. So I don't understand why everybody's so scared and they do not want to draft Kenneth Walker. And we just talked about injuries with Jonathan Taylor, but nobody seems to care about those with Jonathan Taylor, but they want to cite those with Kenneth Walker. Mm-hmm. That makes absolutely zero sense. I just don't get it, guys. He's a league winner. I have him as an RB1. He is RB10 in my ranks. And for everybody that says that that's crazy, he was RB12 last year. If this offensive line takes even a small step forward this year, he's going to explode. So I know I'm not worried, because the other thing I know the YouTube comments are going to come in. He's got a minor ankle injury. He's already hurt. I don't care. It's freaking June, people. The team's already come out and said they don't care about the ankle injury. They're holding him back. They want him ready for training camp. And when it's go time, I want to draft Kenneth Walker everywhere. If you're giving me RB2 prices on an RB1 that has shown massive passing game upside with freaking Sam Darnold under center this year, we know first hint of pressure, he's going to check it down. Yeah, I'm going to draft Kenneth Walker everywhere.
44 overall in ECR RB16. So I do really like the value of Walker, especially when you consider that, like you said, D-Bro, he had career high receiving numbers last year in just 11 games. I think that can continue with Sam Darnold liking to check the ball down. However, this Seattle offensive line is what I think gives myself and a lot of other rankers and fans a little bit of pause, even after drafting the Busch Light drinking offensive guard Gray Zabel out of the FCS in the first round. So where do you land on him, Bogman?
Yeah, I have him at RB15. I love Ken Walker. I think the talent is insane. I was where D-Bro is last season on him. He got hurt, obviously. Mm-hmm. But like D-Bro said, this is very similar to Jonathan Taylor. And honestly, I probably would have skipped JT and had Kenneth Walker on my list had I got my list first. But Seth made this chat for us, and D-Bro was like, here's my picks. Like 5 seconds in.
He's a hardworking man. He's
Thursday.
A hardworking man.
I'm like, can we wait until like Saturday? Maybe give me a chance to get some names in here. 2 names.
I waited a few minutes.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows the 2 names that I'm going to be mad about. This is one of them. The other one you guys are going to be really surprised by. But the Ken Walker talk. I mean, I have been a Ken Walker fan since his time at Michigan State. You know, this is a guy that faced 8, 9, 10-man stack boxes because Brian Lewerke was his quarterback and still ran through everybody, gutted that amazing Michigan defense that went on to win the national title a couple seasons later, right? So, like, Ken Walker has the talent to be a upper echelon running back. It's just about staying healthy. But I will say this for him, and like D-Bro said, when you go to a quarterback like Sam Darnold, what is the best thing you can do for him? You can run the ball effectively to make some of these passing lanes open later. They're going to run the crap out of the ball. With Walker and Charbonnet as that two-headed monster there. I mean, Charbonnet is worth way more than the carries that he gets in Seattle. I think that's what scares people off of Seattle off of Walker's. We got a little taste of it when Walker was gone, but Walker is still better than Charbonnet. Like Charbonnet is great, but Walker is still better. So is he an injury risk? Yes, but we're calling this the insane league winners. It would be insane if he vaulted up to a top 5 running back, but the talent is there. And I think that's what we're trying to find in this show is we're trying to find talent that either the injuries, something doesn't match up in their ECR. And Kenneth Walker is 100% one of those guys.
D-Bro, if you were going to draft Kenneth Walker's early, as you have him in your rankings, are you also grabbing Charbonnet in the triple-digit numbers as well? Like 116 in ECR currently. He was an RB1 in games that Kenneth Walker was gone. So do you want that like a handcuff on your bench with Charbs, or are you okay missing out on the weeks that Kenneth Walker's out?
I'm not. If you're, this all goes back to ethos of guys that we're drafting. If you're drafting these guys, you are making a bet, you're placing a chip down that they are going to crush. I'm not hedging that bet. Okay. I understand people that if they want to, but if Kenneth Walker gets hurt, whatever, I mean, like, he stays healthy for the first 12 games of the season, first 8-9 games of the season, are you still holding Charbonnet at that point on your bench? Or have you probably cut loose and you have somebody else? Like, you're probably not holding on to that guy 6-7 weeks into the season, especially your team. Whether you start off like just crushing other teams and you start off like undefeated or you're struggling, the reality that he's still on your bench at that time is very slim. So for me, if we're doing all this work in the pre-draft process in the summer and I'm making bets on certain players to absolutely crush, I'm going to say it with my chest.
Okay. All right,
I also think Charbs is probably too expensive to handcuff. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Like, I think someone's going to take him a little bit higher than your traditional handcuff type player.
That's
very true. Yeah. Boggs, let's go ahead and stay out on the West Coast and get to your favorite mid-round target.
Yeah, let's go to Omarion Hampton, the running back coming out of North Carolina and ending up with the Chargers here. Currently, his ECR is 55. He's 52. I'm only like one spot higher than him on ECR, but I know there's pushback against Hampton having an enormous season in his rookie year because Najee Harris is there.
Yes.
But I do think you and I would agree, Seth, that while Najee is a guy that can handle an insane amount of volume, he's kind of a jag in NFL circles. Now, I will say this. All the hype that I have for Omarion Hampton coming into the NFL is exactly the type of hype that I had for Najee Harris coming into the NFL with my own team, right? Because he went to Alabama. He had enormous, production there and also great in the scouting combine, his athletic score, the jumping, hurdling, all that stuff. Najee is great, but his secret is stamina. It's not anything flashy. Hampton has everything, man. Listen to some of these stats. 5th in rushing attempts in college last year, 4th in rushing yards, 6th in yards per carry, 6th in run grade, 3rd in yards after contact, 6th in missed tackles forced, 4th in explosive runs, 5th in breakaway yards, 7th in breakaway percentage, 9th in running back receptions, 3rd in running back receiving yards, 5th in running back yards per route run, and 7th in elusive rating for Omarion Hampton in college last season. This is a dude that can come in and have an insane year. Last year, he had over 300 touches in North Carolina, went for over 2,000 yards, and had 17 touchdowns. That is insane production. He ain't going to get that in the NFL. But I think it's going to be a much wider gap between touches for Hampton and Najee Harris than most projections have him for. Could it be closer, specifically in the beginning? Absolutely. Right. But I think at the end of the day, Omarion Hampton is going to run away with this job at the end of the year, which is going to have him finish total points probably as a low-end RB1 or a high-end RB2, somewhere in that range. And if something happens to Najee and he gets a bunch of carries, which, look, Najee seems like the Terminator. He's never missed a game, right? Like, he's insane. But if anything does happen to Najee and Hampton is getting the lion's share, Hampton is going to put up monstrous numbers. So if we're looking at insane upside, Hampton absolutely has it.
Yeah, I think I'm in line with you because I feel like we've seen this movie before. Talented young rookie running back comes in. There's a veteran on there who can snatch up some volume. whether it was like when JT came in the league and you had Marlon Mack there. Mack ends up tearing his Achilles like week 1, and then the floodgates open for JT. Or maybe it's a more gradual thing, like how Jahmyr Gibbs came in and potentially doesn't have the best start of the season. Dave Montgomery ends up going down, is lightning in a bottle. They can't put the genie back into it. So we know that Hampton is special, D-Bro. We know that he can handle the volume, led the ACC in rushing attempts the past 2 seasons. But the question is, will he see it in year 1? And will he see it early enough in that rookie year that justifies the cost and not just trading for him down the line?
Man, I hope so. My worries, and this is why I didn't include him on my list. I'm a little bit below ECR. I do worry that Najee Harris kind of hangs around. Because again, like, we know what is strong. Like, he's solid. He's not spectacular, man. I mean, he's basically the David Montgomery of this offense now. Like, not in the sense of skill set, tackle breaking. Like, you know what you're getting on Najee Harris. He's going to play every single game this season. He's not going to get hurt. If he does get banged up, he's going to play through it. He's going to break tackles, get you 4 yards if you need 4 yards, 5 yards if you need that. He'll get you 4 yards. That's about what you're going to get on Najee Harris. And I just worry that he's going to hang around too much, that it's going to hurt Hampton. But look, if the Bolts give the keys to this backfield to Omarion Hampton, yes, everything Bogman laid out here, everything is going to come to fruition.
Agreed.
The only other thing that I'll bring up here, and this is, again, going back to something we kind of mentioned or we talked about, we were talking about JT and his upside and his floor and stuff, is the fact that, I mean, at this point, we know in a Greg Roman offense, they're just not throwing the ball to the running back position. Even with Justin Herbert under center last year, you had the Los Angeles Chargers finish with the second lowest running back target share in the NFL. So the other part about it is, if he doesn't gain all of the work in the backfield and the red zone equity, he doesn't have any of the pass game stuff to fall back on. If that's split up, even if that pie is given to him, it's not a ton, man. So is the talent there for him to crush? Absolutely. He just needs Najee to just go away.
I think if you're drafting Omarion Hampton, I absolutely believe, like, I'm with you, Boggs. I think by the end of the year, he is a league winner. I just think you have to practice a little bit of patience, right? Like, don't go trading him after week 2 or week 3, because he's probably going to be averaging somewhere between like 9 to 12 points per game. But, you know, the 15 plus points could come the last 4 or 5 weeks when you really need it.
And Seth, it's a great point that you make here. Remember this: if you're not the one that drafts Omarion Hampton, remember this conversation. And then, you know, if people are getting frustrated with him, try to make a deal for him early in the season and then write out that end, because Hampton is better than Najee. And I hate crapping on Najee. He's a wonderful human being. I love him. As a
great.
person.
Yeah,
but,
agreed.
you know, we watched a lot of him. He's a jag in the NFL, I think. So,
you
know, stamina is his thing. You know, producing is not. So
bookmark this timestamp here. Put Boggs' face in it as the JPEG. Save it in your folder for later down the road, and you're gonna open it up and you'll be happy you did. To no surprise, D-Bro, you're also in on a rookie running back being a league winner. This one coming by way of the Mile High City.
Dude, it's RJ Harvey's world, and we're all just living in it, man. I mean, I don't understand how, like, in what realm are we living in where we are worried about Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, and people's newest excuse, J.K. Dobbins? Like, I just don't get it, man. Like, people wanted to shade, like, RJ Harvey was an RB3 in ECR. He's a low-end RB2 on a lot of different best ball sites. I cannot wrap my head around this. I don't understand it, because it's like people just want to push back against the hype. They weren't high enough on him as a prospect.
Yep.
He went high. He got the absolute awesome landing spot we all hoped. If this would have been Omarion Hampton, if this would have been probably even Caleb Johnson, I mean, Travion Henderson, name any one of those 3 running backs. If this would have been that name tied to Denver, then people would be like, oh, it's RJ. Like, they would be like just cutting backflips to draft this dude as a top 12, top 15 back, but it's RJ Harvey. So people are like, oh, I don't know. What about Audric Estime? No. Sean Payton, who decided the running back rotation last year, said it wasn't even Audric Estime time. It wasn't Jaleel McLaughlin time. RIP to me. And it just wasn't, man. Javonte Williams stayed out there for all of it. And RJ Harvey's not going to get most of the work in this backfield. The high leverage touches, the pass game stuff. And for everybody being like, oh, well, RJ Harvey can't pass protect. Oh, so you think that he's going to trust Estime or McLaughlin, who grand total of 16 pass blocking snaps last year? J.K. Dobbins, a new guy who's going to come in and prove that from the hop? Mm-hmm. Dude, I just don't understand how we're going to talk ourselves out of a league-winning back in what we all think is going to be a top 12 scoring offense. They were last year. He produced over his final 2 collegiate seasons, top 20 in breakaway percentage and elusive rating in both of those. And we know Sean Payton is going to target the running back position in the passing game because he's done it every single freaking season he's ever been in the NFL. The last 2 years in Denver, top 5 in running back target share in both of those years. But all these reasons, people are like, yeah, but RJ Harvey's still an RB3 in my rankings. Come on, man.
Yes, 77 overall ECR, RB27.
Ridiculous.
And I've been with you. I've been hearing you, D-Bro, really all spring preaching the good word that is RJ Harvey. But at the same time, I do worry about Dobbins just a little bit because he is coming off a season with career highs across the board in carries, rushing yards, and receptions, even though the Greg Roman offense didn't produce a ton of them. So with that said, Bogman, I'm still drafting RJ Harvey. I just think I have a little bit less hope that he could be, a top 5 overall running back. Despite this being a guy that every time we tried to fade UCF over on the BP College Football Show the past couple years, never worked out because of this man right here.
RJ Harvey just puts it together, man. And how do we know if he could pass block or not? Would he get 10 chances all of last season, right? They just ran the crap out of the football at UCF. They literally ran the ball I think it was 66% of the time, 63% of the time, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was one of the higher clips last season, and RJ Harvey was the guy. And this is the thing. Look, Dobbins isn't a nothing, right? He doesn't come in here and do nothing. He comes in here and he pushes at Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin to the back of the lunch line here, right? But RJ Harvey, they drafted. They put more into getting RJ Harvey. They gave him a nice draft spot. And guess who they could have had that entire time? They could have had Dobbins before that, right? So I don't know, man. I just don't. It is going to be a 1-2 punch for sure, but this is just like Najee and Omarion Hampton to me. Although the gap is wider, you know what I mean? The gap is much wider. I feel like the gap is wider between Najee and Hampton than it is Montgomery and Gibbs. I think those two are closer in talent, even though Gibbs is amazing, than Hampton and Najee. And I think Hampton and Najee are closer than Harvey and Dobbins. So I just think that we're getting further away from, Dobbins. Is he going to impact things? Yes, of course he is. But he's going to push Estime and McLaughlin out, not Harvey. I have Harvey at 22 among running backs. RB2, D-Bro. That's for you, baby. So I'm not moving him down from there. Maybe I put him below Henderson. But I don't know. I think Henderson is probably on the lower end with Stevenson there. I'm more afraid of that than I am Dobbins for Harvey. So I'm probably going to stick with Harvey right at where I have him at 22. And I think there's a ton of upside there with him. Absolutely.
Two different things here, boys, before we move on. One, I absolutely love the comparison that you just made, Bogman, between Hampton and it's so apropos. And if you look at these two situations, it's are you worried about J.K. Dobbins or are you worried more about Najee Harris? You should be worried more about Najee Harris. Mm-hmm. And then you look at both of these offenses. One of them has proven they will not throw to the running backs, but people seem to not care about that at all. And the other has proven over a decade that the running back is an integral part of the passing game. Yes, but everybody's to be honest, yes, RJ Harvey and Omarion Hampton, if anything, their rankings should be flipped. But if you believe in Hampton, then both of these guys should be in the top 24. The addition of J.K. Dobbins did nothing to my RJ Harvey rank, because the other part about looking at RJ Harvey and his run out for this season, I never, and nobody should have ever projected this guy to get 275, 300 carries. So if that's not what you're projecting, I always believed there was going to be a running back and will be a running back in this offense next to Harvey that's going to siphon off 100 to 125 carries. That's going to happen. Oh, okay, cool. The Broncos just said, we don't believe Estime is that guy. We just want J.K. Dobbins to be that guy. Fine. I don't care.
Yeah. Last thing for me on this, and kind of related just due to Bogman's comp, though. Nothing beat in high school getting to the lunch line early, man. Like,
that's
when,
fair.
When you're at the front of that line, like, you feel like a king. Whoever was the teacher that let you go down to lunch, just 30 seconds early, beat the little bit of a rush. Good times.
I was like an Olympic sprinter to the lunch line as a fat kid. Number one, I want that food, right? But really, what it was we played football at lunch. So, my group tried to scarf our lunch down so he could go play football.
Sure, that ended poorly a couple times.
I will not hype up.
Yeah,
go ahead, Bogman.
Well, I just that it did not end well. They made us stop doing it. Yeah. But you're absolutely right, Seth.
I will not hype up lunchroom hamburgers, but I will say warm versus cold. Yeah, you probably want to be on the front of the line.
Yeah, good point. Also staying on brand is Bogman with his next league winner. That is a former Texas Longhorn. Hook 'em Boggs. Who you got here, man?
I know. Look, it's Xavier Worthy, my guy for the Kansas City Chiefs. I get it. Rice is back. Hollywood Brown is back.
Yes.
They drafted Jalen Royals.
Yes.
Travis Kelce's not going to have as bad a year.
Hopefully.
Understand all of these arguments about why Worthy is where he is, right? But what about this? What if Worthy is just really, really good, right? What type of upside does Worthy have? I just spoiled it. It's Tyreek Hill type of upside. They have the same type of skill set. It's speed on speed on speed, right? And if we look at, the 3-game playoff pace, I extrapolated it, boys. It's absurd. I'm not even going to read it. It's
that's a playoffs in receiving yards, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even going to read
740 receptions, 3,400 yards,
It's 1,626 yards at 17
No, see it.
That's what it is, okay? Now, let's take the last 3 weeks of the regular season and the playoffs. It's a little more realistic. Still insanely high. It's 148 targets, 113 catches, 1,351 yards, and 14 scores. He's not getting that. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to sell that to you. But I will say, what does that look like, gentlemen? That looks like some peak Tyreek Hill years right there. That extrapolation, right? Like 111, 12, 39, and 9, 119, 17, 10, and 7. His best year in 23, 1,799 and 13 touchdowns on 119 catches for Tyreek Hill. That's the type of insane upside I feel like Xavier Worthy has. Is he going to get that in the Chiefs offense? Most likely not. I think what I want Worthy as is my wide receiver 3. That's why I have him ranked at 25 in my rankings. He's my 25th wide receiver because he is the first option I want when we get down to those RB3s, because he's an upside play every single week because of his big playability. So I want my 2 steady Eddies and I want my 3rd wide receiver every time to be Xavier Worthy, just in case he does put together one of those insane years. And him and Mahomes, I think the thing that helped Worthy the most was all these guys being out at the end of the year so he could develop with Mahomes. Obviously, Kelce wasn't. Kelce was just, seemed like he wasn't playing healthy the whole year, or he was distracted, but he's coming back. You expect him to be better. You expect Rice to be just as good coming back. He's already been working in camp. So I expect him to be there. Maybe we get this suspension. Maybe we don't. I just don't even know what is happening with it anymore for Rashee Rice. So, but I am really excited about what Worthy is going to put together this year. And I want him as my wide receiver 3 on every team I put together.
I think he definitely fits in this bucket of insane league winners, right? Like, I think if you're looking for pure upside, he's there. I'm just mixed on this Kansas City wide receiver core as a whole, because like you said, we got Royals in the mix, Hollywood Brown's back, and at the same time, like, Worthy felt like he only took off once he kind of pushed Juju out of that Rashee Rice role that they kind of put Juju into before he got hurt. So I just have no clue who's going to have that Rice role in the high target, short A-dot type of situation that Worthy really excelled in down the stretch, D-Bro. I just don't know if that's Worthy's now going forward or if it's Rice who will slot back into it. So I'm just mixed on it. How do you feel?
Man, this passing attack has been frustrating to kind of like dice up and figure out. I think the more that I've kind of thought about this is I think Rice goes back into his role, because if you look at how all these skill sets kind of mash up, I think Worthy proved that he can play Rashee Rice's role over the back half of the season with the high design target rate, the low A dot and stuff. I don't think Rashee Rice can play the Xavier Worthy role.
Right.
And
right.
run the deep stuff. So that's why I worry that, like, could Xavier Worthy play the Rashee Rice role? It's possible. But when you mix up all these different skill sets, I don't think Rice can play Worthy's role. And is Hollywood going to be the field stretcher, running the go routes, running clear outs? I mean, that could be possible. And maybe
going to be on the IR by week 3.
That's also possible too. Yeah. So for me, I think the big thing that concerns me for Worthy isn't even a Worthy thing. It's Mahomes. I think a lot, the way that we have contextualized and talked about this offense over the last 2 years and why they've done some of the things that they've done and said, okay, we've all said, oh, it's all too high and they're taking away the deep balls and blah, 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 and Mahomes, and that's why it's dink and dunk and everything's underneath. Dude, can we also just keep it a buck here and also say that this also might be a follow-up for the fact that Patrick Mahomes has been legit one of the worst deep ball passers in the NFL over the last 2 years? And that has also massively impacted this. And I know Chiefs fans don't want to hear that. They also don't want to hear the numbers that he has been bottom 10 in CPOE on deep targets over the last 2 years. He's also been top 10 in off-target rate. Mahomes has legitimately been terrible anytime he's asked to throw down the field. And so regardless of, like, if they are stretching the field, if that's the role that Worthy plays, then Mahomes' play and his play as a deep passer is going to incredibly impact Xavier Worthy. If he's in the Rashee Rice, kudos, wheels up, let's go. We know what that looks like. Even if they're rotating between this, that's going to hurt Worthy if Mahomes is still a putrid deep passer this year. So I'm probably at consensus on Worthy. I concede I see a path for the ceiling. I just don't know if it happens.
While football is seemingly right around the corner, the NBA Finals are finally upon us, and this is your last shot to win some real cash before the season ends. The simplest way to get in on the action is by downloading the Pick6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for some big cash. No gimmicks, no weird rules, just ball, baby. Nail your picks and you're heating up. Pick6 brings upside with payouts of up to 500 times. Ready to make your finals run? Pick6 is live in a ton of states, including Texas, California, Georgia, and Missouri. And get this, all new Pick6 customers will instantly get $50 in bonus bets on just a $5 entry. So don't miss your last shot to win some cash this NBA season. Download the DraftKings Pick6 app now and use the code FANTASYPROS. Again, that's code FANTASYPROS. New customers play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside only on DraftKings Pick6. The crown is yours. All right, now let's get into the late round dart throws with insane upside. We'll move a little bit quicker here and let's switch things up. Boggs, who is your first of 3 league winners from rounds 9+?
Let's go with Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver from the Niners here. ZCR currently, I have it as 108. I have him at 85 overall. Wide receiver 47, I have him at 37. A lot like Worthy being my first wide receiver 3, I want Pearsall as my first wide receiver 4. And I think we all saw the potential at the end of the season when he got the snaps and targets. Those games were huge. But if we do the extrapolating bit that we're not supposed to do, right? The games that he played in at least 30 passing snaps, there were 5 of them. That would be 85 catches, 1,159 yards, and 11 touchdowns. So you see the insane upside of a guy like this. But, you know, Ayuk is back. Jennings is still good. Kittle's healthier. We have, I mean, if you believe it, we have Christian McCaffrey coming back, which I will not be taking Christian McCaffrey, and I still almost
more for me, Boggs,
in this show, right? Because his upside is enormous. But look, I think there are a couple things we're missing here. Yes, those guys are still going to be there, but Kittle's a year older. Is Ayuk the same guy coming off a major injury? Is Pearsall just better than Jennings? I think Juwan Jennings is great. I think he's awesome. But I also acknowledge that Pearsall might just be straight up better than him. So we're going to see Pearsall on the field a ton this season. And, you know, last year in Dynasty, I was way down on this guy. I thought the draft stock was great, but But I was like, well, when does he play?
Right.
Because going into the year, you had Kittle, you had CMC, you had Ayuk, and Debo was still there, right? But now it's so different. It's CMC and Ayuk coming off of major injuries. Kittle is officially old. Debo is gone. So the situation is completely different. And I think that there's a lot of upside and a lot of potential targets for Ricky Pearsall. It's just, where is he going to end up in the pecking order here? Because he could be fourth. That would not be a shock. And I think that's kind of where you have to think that he is going into the draft. You can't push him too far beyond that, which is why his ECR is post 100, right? But there is not a hard ladder to climb here, as hard a ladder as people would give it to. If CMC is not the same guy, and I don't trust anything the Niners say about injured players after all of this fiasco with CMC last year and bilateral Achilles tendonitis they had to go to Germany to fix, right? The landscape of this offense, the pecking order, is just different. And I think things are going to get settled early in the season. It could be back to Ayuk and Kittle, and CMC could be amazing. And, now Pearsall is fourth, fifth in the pecking order, and it's him and Jennings. But I really think with the upside that he has and those couple of huge games, his projections are closer to, I believe, when I was looking, I thought I wrote it down and I didn't, but I believe it was somewhere around 780 yards and 5 touchdowns. A couple injuries away from being a 1,000-yard guy and 7 or 8 touchdowns, which is a great option on your bench as it goes right now.
Yeah, I love the efficiency that Pearsall had last season. 17th in quarterback rating per target, 26 as well in fantasy points per target. Like, those are great numbers. And to me, fantasy football and the draft is a lot like stocks. And I think his stock will be very high before Brandon Ayuk gets back to full health. You could potentially draft him, get a couple good weeks from him, then flip him for maybe even a more promising wide receiver or other asset down the stretch, D-Bro.
I'm all in on Pearsall, man. I'm with you, Boggs. You said, where do you have him ranked right now?
37 among wideouts.
Okay, and you had him in the 80s. So what was it, 82nd
85.
overall? Okay,
85.
I have him 73rd overall, and I've got him wide receiver 33. So we're basically hand-holding, dude.
I think we could probably flip a lot of these guys on the list from mine and yours. So.
I mean, dude, the thing it comes down to for me is if we take the name out of it, and you said there is a former first-round NFL wide receiver that flashed in the finals two weeks of pretty much a lost rookie season. A veteran wide receiver is gone. Yes, he still has to compete with an elite tight end. Another starting wide receiver is coming off a major knee injury, and he's fighting for targets in that offense opposite a 27-year-old breakout player. I just feel like we're contextualizing it wrong with Ricky Pearsall. This is the player. This is the type of player that you embrace the risk, because again, the price point's not high, dude. Like, even drafting him aggressively, we're still talking about a wide receiver 3 or 4 on your team. Now we're talking about him in the light that he can outproduce us and smash these rankings. So, but the risk is already baked in, like overtly. So, like, why not, dude?
Yeah, there's no downside. Like, what is the downside of drafting him? He doesn't work out. Your draft capital isn't killer. It's not a pick that's going to ruin your season. So if you draft him and he doesn't do anything, you can dump him. So I really like rostering Pearsall if I can this year.
D-Bro, you're still on that Rocky Mountain high with your next league winner pick. Lay it on us.
Dude, it's Evan Engram. Why the heck are we at ranking, depending on what you're looking at for ECR, Evan Ingram's anywhere from like a tight end 7 to tight end 10. And why? It doesn't make any sense, man. This is a consolidated passing attack. Bo Nix did what he did in his rookie season. He was awesome. He's competing with Cortland freaking Sutton for the team leading targets. We've already seen top 5 upside from this tight end, and everybody points back to 2024 and says, oh, look at these metrics and blah. Dude, he still did the one thing that we all freaking care about. That's earn targets. Even last year when Evan Engram was hurt, and might I add, the first season that he's popped up on the injury report since 2021. So all this other stuff about him being injury prone that I've also heard people talk about is also BS. Evan Engram has top 3 upside at the tight end position this year. Yeah. He's going to crush. He's going to get a ton of targets in this offense. I just don't understand where the downside is, man. And the guy's shown that type of upside, target earning ability. And in the 2 previous seasons before the injured 2024, he was 13th and 14th in yards per route run. He was top 12 in target share in each of those seasons. And I always point back to this one single metric, because if you look at this metric, every single year, it is the top shelf guys of fantasy royalty at tight end. And that's yards per route run against man coverage amongst the tight ends. Before 2024, those 2 seasons, Evan Engram, 4th and 8th in that metric. He's still got the juice, guys.
Evan Ingram's 2023 season still stands second in all-time tight end receptions with 114. So we're not that far removed from that. Bogman, I think the question is, for a lot of fantasy managers, once you get to this range, are you just waiting and fading the tight end position? Because that's kind of how I feel. Like, if I don't take Brock Bowers early, which I'm not doing a lot this year, if I don't get a Kittle, somewhere in those middle rounds, like, I'm just waiting for a Tyler Warren, for a Kincaid, a Freiermuth, one of these guys way down the board. So would you stand back and make this decision and draft someone like Evan Engram, or are you just kind of fading this whole tier of tight ends?
I mean, I'm with you, Seth, in the fact that I just fade tight end after the top, 2 or 3, right? Like, it's Bowers. I think McBride gets back on top. I still think Kittle, is the best tight end in the league. Maybe not the best, fantasy tight end. Obviously, that's Bowers. But just talking about overall, I think Kittle's the best tight end in the league. So if it's not one of those 3 guys, I have Laporta and Hawkinson locked in pretty solid at 4 and 5.
Okay.
And Kelsey in that mix as well. After that, I don't care. Like, just whoever. If Engram is your guy, great. It's Engram. If it's Jonnu Smith, if it's, coming off his big year and maybe getting traded, if it's Mark Andrews after,
we don't need Jonnu traded, man. keep him there.
Please, God. But we do not need that. But yeah, I mean, if you want to take one of those rookies with upside, if Engram is your guy, though, I understand it. And Engram is proven. I think that's the thing between him and the rookies.
Right.
Do the rookies have more upside? Sure, maybe. But is it guaranteed? Absolutely not. Tight end is one of the harder positions to come in the NFL and dominate, which is why there's no Brock Bowers in this class, because there's no Brock Bowers in any class, right? It's very, very rare to have those type of guys. We want to find a guy, but, we put it on the wrong guy all the time. We put it on Pitts, whose rookie season was great. After that, he's been bad. We put it on Noah Fant. Didn't do anything. You know what I mean? We put it on too many of these guys that just don't turn out. Dalton Kincaid was the most recent one that we were saying, like, oh, he's definitely going to be amazing, and it didn't work out. But, Evan Engram is a steady Eddie. So if he's your guy, he's going so late. He's going to be a great deal. I don't like the tight end position overall.
There's no reason there should be a 2-round discount or a 2-round separation between him and TJ Hawkinson and Travis Kelce.
I agree with that. 100%. Boggs, let's go back to you and let's head to Western New York for your next league winner. One of the best stories coming out of that 2024 NFL draft cycle.
Yeah, I love Ray Davis. Just such a hard-nosed running back. And this one is probably the biggest reach that I have. And this, unlike before we were talking about Charbonnet, too expensive to be a handcuff. Ray Davis is not too expensive to be a handcuff for James Cook. And this guy has proven at many places in college, he had to bounce around, to Temple, to Vandy, to Kentucky to finish off his career, that he can be a major contributor. And he already has way surpassed Ty Johnson on the depth chart, right? James Cook is in a contract dispute right now, but we see what playing next to Josh Allen can be when a guy like James Cook is scoring 16 touchdowns. If I pick a guy to score 16 touchdowns in a season, it's never going to be James Cook. And I think James Cook is awesome, but it's going to be Derrick Henry. It's going to be Saquon Barkley. It's going to be Jonathan Taylor. It's not going to be James Cook, but because he plays next to Josh Allen, he got in there 16 times. This offense is insanely potent. And if Ray Davis gets a shot to be the guy, I think that he can be just as good, if not better, than James Cook, given the opportunity. And, he's not going, I don't think he's going to take a huge step without something happening to Cook. But Cook is a free agent in 2026. Maybe they want to get Ray Davis, just a little bit of a longer look, a little more experience to take over next year, because they're definitely not extending James Cook is what it looks like right now. That also could get ugly. going into training camp. So there's, paths to Ray Davis getting to big production, but I think most of it is going to be if James Cook gets hurt. So a nice handcuff. And if he gets the opportunity to play all those snaps, the upside is enormous for a guy like Ray Davis. So I know we're counting out Blake Corum on this show with D-Bro here, right? Because, but we got to get one of those guys from last year in Ray Davis. And I think he's a really good handcuff if you draft James Cook.
Yeah, 6.6 rushing attempts per game last season. I think the upside case is certainly there, and Bogman made it in great fashion, D-Bro. But the other side of that, if Cook is somehow all the way back in here, Ty Johnson's still sniffing around, vulturing tight touchdowns and receiving work, then you got a roster clogger in Ray Davis.
Yeah, I mean, I think his ADP and things are appropriate for me. Is the upside there? I mean, dude, just look back to last year. In the 2 games we got Ray Davis playing over 50% of the snaps, he averaged 20 touches and 108.5 total yards. He was the RB14.
Sign me up.
Both of those games in weekly scoring. So,
and dude, when he's on the field, they're giving him the ball, which I hate. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, Ray Davis is out there. He's getting a handoff. The whole defense knows it too, though. Like, break him up a little bit. Get him out there on some passing downs or something. Break him up, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is Buffalo could easily turn this into a Thunder and Lightning kind of committee. And Davis has standalone value from day one.
True. D-Bro, you've got our first quarterback on the league winning menu. Who's next for you, man?
It's gotta be JJ McCarthy, dude. Like, I'm getting all high pitched here because I don't understand. Like, I keep talking about all these rankings that make no sense to me. We all lived in a world last year where Sam Darnold was a top 10 quarterback in fantasy, right? We all experienced that together as a collective.
It was real.
It happened. You could pinch yourself a million times and it still happened. QB9 in fantasy points per game. And yet we're ranking JJ McCarthy as a low-end QB2, and I cannot make any sense out of that because it's not just Sam Darnold. You've seen Josh Dobbs, you've seen Nick Mullins, you've seen all kinds of parts or pieces produce as QB1s or high-end QB1s, depending on the player and their skill set in this offense. And people don't think that JJ McCarthy is going to do that. And I feel like all they're doing is just cementing and bias of old bad draft prospect takes for a guy that they hated coming out. They'd love to crap on every part of the process. Now he's the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Sorry, Aaron Rodgers. They never wanted you. And he's going to be a QB1. He's already a QB1 in my rankings. I'm saying it with my chest. I believe in the talent. I believe in the situation. I believe in KOC. And I'm old enough to remember when JJ McCarthy in his final year in college was top 12 in passing grade, adjusted completion rate, yards per attempt. I'm not done there yet. Adjusted completion rate on deep passing, and also adjusted completion rate when pressured. He offers off-script ability and some rushing upside. Both of those things Sam Darnold has never had. JJ McCarthy is a QB1 in fantasy in 2025, and he has tons of upside for more.
I love it, man. I'm with you on this call because if there's one thing I can bet on with JJ McCarthy, it's his accuracy. Number 1 in the Big Ten in completion percentage in 2023. Number 1 in passing efficiency rating as well. And also, Bogman, this guy never had great weapons. He had Colston Loveland coming on at tight end, and he had Roman Wilson. That's
Roman Wilson, who's going to be the savior of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year.
God!
Everybody knows that.
Speaking of insane takes.
Look, you're absolutely right. I'm madder at this name, D-Bro, than I am your next.
I knew you were going to be salty about it. I asked you about one, but I would.
I'm madder at this name than I am your next one, which is surprising, and you guys will hear in a second why. But yeah, man, JJ McCarthy just being in a KOC offense, having the weapons that he has, like even Aaron Jones isn't dead quite yet, but it's Justin Jefferson, it's Jordan Addison who would be a number 1 on so many other teams. TJ Hawkinson would be a much bigger target share guy if he was not with Jefferson and Addison on other teams. They get Darisaw back on the offensive line. The defense made improvements as well. Like, just this whole team is really good. This is built around him. I have him at QB 17. You just don't have to take him there, right? He's a low end QB2 on almost every board. So he is a smoking hot deal right now.
Yeah. A couple of months ago, I threw out a plus 550 NFC North ticket for the Minnesota Vikings on the BP NFL podcast. So feeling good about that one now. Absolutely.
JJ McCarthy plus 10,000 for NFL MVP. I'm just going to throw that out there. Not saying anything else, just throwing that out there.
All right, Boggs, you have one final league winner to target for us today, and you're digging deep, and I mean deep, all the way down to the 15th round for this one. Who you got?
It's not that deep. It's Anthony Richardson. Look, he was god awful last year. I'm not sitting here telling you that you have to have faith in Anthony Richardson, but if he could just be a little better at throwing the ball, the rushing upside is so insane. It still exists. The arm strength is still crazy, right? The talent is still within Anthony Richardson. It's just putting it all together. And we talked about it when I talked about JT. This is how I bookend my appearance here, right? Is this Colts offense has the potential to be one of the better offenses in the NFL with JT, with Pittman, with Warren, with Downs, with Pierce, with Mitchell. The O-line is the weakness. If the O-line can hold up and they can have someone throw the forward pass like just a little bit, this offense could be insane. And Anthony Richardson at the helm, the offense is created for him. That's why they brought in players that have similar skill sets to him. In Daniel Jones, who runs the ball, and Riley Leonard, the rookie they drafted out of Notre Dame. They brought in similar skill set players because they built this entire offense around Anthony Richardson. It's a playbook made for him. The weapons are crazy around him. It's the biggest ifs and buts, and he was such a failure so spectacularly last season that no one has faith anymore. Even a lot of people that were screaming for Richardson to have this insane value last year, and most of us were, right? So it's still in there. It's just we have to pull it out. Maybe it never comes out, right? That is within the realm of possibility. But if this works, we are talking insane league winners, aren't we?
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson can be that upside. It's still in there that we saw last year. So yes, he failed miserably and right on his face. And maybe he doesn't get another crack at it. That is within the possibility as well. But if this works, if it clicks, if Richardson starts 17 games, he's a QB1. I don't think that there's really a huge argument.
I mean, I was like the poster child for like, hi, I'm the problem. It's me with Anthony Richardson last season. I was all in on this guy.
Yeah.
And like, I think I still was coming into this season, D-Bro, until we got the recent reports that he's revisiting Dr. Neil Elitresh, the Achilles factory out in LA, who did that initial shoulder procedure with him. And like, I'm just good on it now. Like, I'll just take a handcuff running back or you know, JJ McCarthy in this round. Like I'm just good on AR now.
I mean,
I'm
look,
out.
I would rather have McCarthy as well. I mean, let's say that for sure. But A-Rich is there if he's healthy and he can throw. The talent is still in there.
I think Bogman hit this on all points, man. I'll just echo that if Anthony Richardson is the starter for the Colts for the entirety of the season, yes, he's a QB1. I mean, the rushing alone puts him into QB1 status, even if he still is a putrid passer. I do worry that like the shoulder getting dinged up, putting him behind the 8 ball in the competition with Daniel Jones, that maybe that creates a situation where he just can't overcome. But there's still a path. Like the thing the reason that I keep the light on for Anthony Richardson is because at the end of the day, Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen want to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
Is there any way, shape, form, or fashion with any run out outside of them going to the freaking AFC Championship game? Is there any run out with Daniel Jones starting for this team this season? They could win 10, 12 games. Is there any run out that the Colts franchise allows this GM and head coach to draft another quarterback? I don't think so.
Not with new ownership,
really,
too. Yeah.
Like for their jobs to be not safe, but for them to have jobs in Indy past this season.
Yeah, it's a good
I think A-Rich has to win this job. Point. Now, can he or will he? We shall see. But they also have a vested interest for this kid to pan out.
Yeah, I think the Irsay children will have a little bit of a quicker leash than maybe Jim Irsay, the late great man, did himself. So, D-Bro, round us out here with your third and final league winner from round 9+. And I had to do a double take to make sure that this wasn't somehow like a fourth Bogman selection that got crammed in here.
Look, I will caveat this. I did ask Bogman a few different times. if he was okay with me taking this name, because I did get to the sheet and everything before him, this is Bogman approved. Throw that out there. It's Cam Skattebo, man. I don't. Cam Skattebo right now in ECR is RB41. And I'm not telling people that Tyrone Tracy wasn't impressive, then he wasn't good for us in fantasy in 2024. He fumbled away the opportunity, man. And I think that with the Giants selecting Cam Skattebo, the player, the archetype that he is, they know what they're getting. They're getting volume. They're getting tackle breaking ability. They're getting dependability out of him. And for all the things that Tyrone Tracy did in his rookie season, a lot of those things that I just outlined in the archetype of player, he didn't do, man. He had the 23rd most touches amongst running backs, but he was tied for the 3rd most fumbles. That's a problem. Brian Daboll, if he had any hair, would have pulled it all out every single time he put the ball on the freaking ground, man. I think this is not if, but when the Cam Skattebo takes over this backfield. And if he takes over the backfield, I mean, come on, guys. They gave all the work to freaking Devin Singletary to begin the year last year. Then they gave all the work to Tyrone Tracy until he fumbled it away. Then he got the job back, and then he got all the work again. So how do we not think that this team wants one running back to get all the work? Now they have the guy that they can feed all the work to that's not going to sit there and put the ball on the ground, and also is a plus in the passing game. Final collegiate season, top 10 in receiving grade and yards per route run. Cam Skattebo gets this job. Ranking him as an RB3, RB4 is going to look blasphemous. He's going to be a weekly top 20 running back.
I'm with you on this one, man. I mean, Bogman and I kind of covered pretty closely the final season of Skattebo's career. Actually, a great pass blocker, great pass catcher, as you alluded to. And like, I'm with you. I'm not worried about Tyrone Tracy at all. Efficiency fell off a cliff late last season, fumbled away those games. And like, I think that someone like Skattebo is the perfect fit for this outside zone gap duo approach that Brian Daboll has become infamous for. So I think the only thing that I can play devil's advocate with, Boggs, and that is my job to play that role here. Will a 3-headed backfield with Devin Singletary still in the mix, still owed a bunch of money, make it a slow first season for the former Arizona State Sun Devil?
I think it's within the realm of possibility, right? Like, Singletary has ruined some early careers.
James
Cook.
Pierce.
Damian Pierce is now nothing thanks to Devin Singletary. Well, really thanks to Damian
But he
Pierce,
didn't have enough juice to sit here and hold off Tracy last year.
No, he didn't.
He didn't, right, yeah. And that's, look, Debro is a cardinal of the cult of Cam Skattebo. I'm the Pope, all right? So, look, this is... I'm just trying to also play devil's advocate with Seth here. But look, I have this list of stats for Cam Skattebo from last year as well. 2nd in rush attempts in college, 2nd in rushing yards, 8th in yards per carry, 5th in rushing touchdowns, 2nd in run grade, 3rd in yards after contact, 8th in yards after contact per carry, 4th in explosive runs, 7th in breakaway percentage, 2nd in first down runs, 8th in running back receptions, 3rd in running back receiving yards, 1st in running back yards after catch, 9th in running back yards after catch per reception. Cam Skattebo is a 3-down workhorse back that will wear out an opposing defense. He's not massive like Derrick Henry, but he can carry the rock. Is the window going to be short in his career? Probably, right? Who cares? Let's take this 3-4 year burst of Cam Skattebo and let him roll with it. I think he gets going pretty early in the season. I think Tyrone Tracy is a 3rd down back. I think Cam Skattebo is your guy. And I do think Singletary is a little bit too old now and is pushed back down to the bench. So, yes, of course, I'm going to approve Cam Skattebo being on this list. And he would have been on here if Debro had not taken him.
For all the draft capital zealots as well, Cam Skattebo got better draft capital than freaking Tyrone Tracy. So you can't even lean on that either.
Well, it is Scott Bogman approved, and also Scott Bogman approved is the Fantasy Pros draft cheat sheet creator. Tired of draft day uncertainty? The Cheat Sheet Creator is your personal draft guide for perfect league-specific rankings. You can visualize your path to victory and add tiers and sync your league to create custom rankings, ensuring every pick is strategic and tailored for your league settings. Sync your league and enter your draft with confidence this season using the Cheat Sheet Creator at fantasypros.com/sheet or on the Fantasy Football Draft Wizard app. Gentlemen, that is going to do it for us today on the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, the best free way to support us. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content, and subscribe if you're new. Help us get to 300,000 subscribers. Help Bogman get off the track phone plan. We need you. We appreciate you. Also, let us know down in the comments below who your league winners are to draft in 2025. For Derek Brown and Scott Bogman, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.